Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Olson from the Smart Weight Loss Coaching podcast. I've been working with Julia for almost 100 episodes now, and she has really helped me grow my podcast from basically just my parents, my husband and kids, and my sister as listeners to over 17,000 downloads. I mean, the amount that she expanded my audience went way beyond my expectations. She really blew my mind. I have quadrupled the number of downloads over the past 12 months. Julia has been so much more than just my podcast teacher. She has been like a partner to me, really taking an interest in my program and helping me more than I ever could have asked for. I highly recommend Julia.
How amazing is that? I am so grateful that Dr. Lisa shared her experience. And if her story resonated with you and you're thinking, wait, I want results like that too, that is exactly what we're doing inside the Podcast Growth Collective. It's the place for online business owners who want to turn podcasting into a powerful growth tool without the burnout and without guessing what to fix. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and finally start seeing results from your podcast, I would love to support you. Head to thepodcastteacher.com/collective to learn more and to join us. And now let's jump into today's episode. Welcome to Podcasting for Solopreneurs. I'm Julia Levine, aka the Podcast Teacher. As a former elementary school educator turned podcasting solopreneur, I'm here to teach you how to use your podcast to grow your online business. On this show, you'll learn proven strategies to boost your podcast's reach, attract more listeners, and ultimately turn those listeners into clients. Let's get started. Hey, and welcome back. Today, I have another pop episode for you. I have reviewed someone's podcast and have created a podcast optimization plan to make their podcast pop. If you are a current or aspiring podcaster, listen in as a fly on the wall for our conversation. I guarantee that you will find something of value in this episode that you can apply to your current or future podcast. Inside of the Podcast Growth Collective, there's a ton of information about planning your podcast content, SEO, marketing, and so much more. Plus, you get direct access to me for all of your questions. Doors are opening soon, so make sure to head over to thepodcastteacher.com/collective and check it out. For today's pop call, I am chatting with Carli, host of the Side Hustler podcast. Carli is a messaging and marketing expert, so she is already doing some amazing things with her podcast. And during our conversation, we went deep into podcast SEO for her show so that her ideal listener can easily find her in a search. If that sounds like something you want to, keep listening. Hey, Carli, and welcome to the show.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Julia, for having me.
Wonderful to connect with you. And I'd love to just kick off this conversation by having you describe what your show is about and who it is for.
Yeah, so I am a host of the Side HustlHER podcast, which is basically the podcast for business and marketing tips for women entrepreneurs who also have a 9-to-5. So we talk about marketing, business, how to balance family while building a business and having a full-time job. So yeah.
And if we were to fast forward 6 months or a year into the future, your podcast is quote unquote doing really well. Paint that picture for me and tell me, what does that look like for you? What is this dream, this goal that we are working toward with the podcast?
Yeah, I love that question. So I have a couple actually. So one of them is obviously to monetize the platform. I do want to kind of like maximize my brand partnership way of making money because I actually started my content creation journey of like working with fashion and beauty brands. But now that I've become an entrepreneur, I've really loved like being able to partner with other businesses and being able to market like, different software, things that I use in my business. So I could definitely see my podcast being able to be monetized in the stream of like brand partnerships and sponsorships, but then also to like cultivate a community of women entrepreneurs that work 9 to 5s and just being able to have a community where, people can connect and bounce ideas off of and really just help each other build their businesses while balancing their jobs. I do have a business that I have here locally in Houston where I basically help people shoot content for their businesses. But as of right now, I'm currently just servicing like the Houston area. Eventually, that could possibly be another opportunity. But more so like within my main goals that I want to focus on is brand partnerships and then building community.
Okay, wonderful. And what do you feel is standing in the way of that? Like, what needs to happen between now and 6 months or a year from now in order to make that come true?
Oh, that's a good question. I think like positioning, because I've been on social media for a while, and I think that my majority of my lifespan of being online has been more so geared towards like influencer, mom, content creator. And so like right now I'm in a place of trying to like pivot my audience from just being like influencer based to now like trying to focus on women entrepreneurs. And so I feel like that's been like the biggest hurdle is like trying to attract those people, but then also like making sure that my messaging is in alignment with what they're looking for.
Okay, gotcha. And in terms of like tangible things that we can, kind of iron out in our 15-minute conversation here today from a podcasting angle, I'm reading between the lines. I'm inferring that kind of your goal is to just increase the size of your audience.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. So that's definitely where my strength lies in helping you grow your podcast audience specifically.
Yeah.
And so when I take a look at a podcast and someone is looking to increase their downloads, expand their reach, grow their audience, there are 3 areas that I typically evaluate. And those 3 areas are content, SEO, and marketing. And so, given that you work in content creation and marketing, it comes as no surprise that I think you are doing really well in both of those areas. I really don't have any strong constructive criticism for marketing, and I'm not your ideal client, your ideal listener. So perhaps there's a little bit of fine tuning there,
Mhm.
but I think it's very clear what your content is and who your content is for from an outsider's perspective.
Love that. Love that. Okay. That's feedback.
And so that brings us to the third thing, which is SEO.
Mhm.
And so I had a whole plan mapped out for you last week. And then I checked back this morning and I saw that you made a whole bunch of changes to your podcast. So
Yes.
threw me a little bit of a curveball there.
Oh man. Oh man. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'm constantly like studying. And so like I'm always like on my toes, like, okay, let's do this. Let's move some things around. But I'm all ears. So whatever you have for me, I would love to hear, as far as the changes that have been made or what you initially saw.
Yeah, so all of your changes were like spot
Uh,
on. And so just for, those people listening that weren't privy to what your podcast was before and where it is now, you added a subtitle or a title extension to the name of your podcast.
mhm,
You also updated your cover art, you updated your show description. Looks like you also moved hosts from Spotify to Buzzsprout as well. So all of those things get my stamp of approval. And so I want to dive in just a little bit. You did so many awesome things that were in my main list of suggestions. So now we're just kind of fine tuning those changes. So the first thing I want to talk about is your subtitle.
Okay.
And so you added on a bunch of words to the end of the Side Hustler podcast,
Mm-hmm.
the title of your show, to increase the chances that you're showing up in the search results for specific keywords.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am making the assumption that you would like to show up in the search results for the term side hustle. Is that correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So right now, that is not happening because of the creative way that you're spelling side hustle, side hustler.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so the very first thing that I would do is put that into the subtitle that you created. So your subtitle now, the Side Hustler Podcast, Business and Marketing Strategies for Entrepreneurs with 9 to 5s.
Mm-hmm.
Super clear. You have great keywords, business, marketing, entrepreneurs, 9 to 5. Like all of those are wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Side hustle is not in there though.
Yeah.
So because of the creative spelling, it's not coming up right now when we search side hustle. And the podcast players are a bit finicky in that way. Their search is very particular. So I would recommend making it the Side Hustler podcast, Side Hustle Business and Marketing Strategies for Entrepreneurs with 9 to 5s.
I love that.
I know it's kind of redundant, but I think that that's going to be your best chance of showing up for that keyword.
I love that. I love that. And I honestly, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I mean, of course, I like the creative aspect of the name because I do feel like it stands out. But then I also understand that with having that creative name, it does minimize my SEO efforts. And then I was also trying to figure out a way to integrate the word into the extension of the title. So I like that you had already had an idea. So that way I didn't have to think of it.
My pleasure. And just so you know, I did strategically put it at the beginning because the words closer to the beginning are more heavily weighted. And so, like, we could have tacked it on to the end, but that would not be as impactful.
Mhm.
So, it was intentional to put it as the first word in your subtitle, your title extension.
I love that.
And the other thing I would do with your title is I would take out the word podcast from the text, from the
Okay.
text entry. So I noticed that you don't have the word the in the text entry for the official name of the podcast. So you just have Side Hustler Podcast. There's no the
Mhm.
in the official title of record. So just take out that word podcast as well, because
Okay.
that's hurting your SEO a bit and it's unnecessary.
Okay.
So then it would just be side hustler, side hustle business and marketing strategies for entrepreneurs with 9 to 5s.
Okay. Perfect. And would you say that I should also remove it from the channel art as well, or it doesn't? Okay.
No.
Okay.
So the robots for the search index, they're not searching the cover art. And so it doesn't matter what's on the cover art in terms of the or podcast, but you just don't want them in the official text title field so that they don't impact your search.
Okay. Cool.
And so kind of on the same lines of your cover, I would not change anything about it. So even though we're tweaking the text to add side hustle into the text field so that you show up in the search results,
Okay.
you don't need to change it on the cover art because when someone looks at it visually, they're seeing side hustler business and marketing strategies for entrepreneurs with 9 to 5s.
Mhm.
It's very clear, it's very straightforward. The text is a nice size, it's readable. Everything is wonderful. I don't have any changes for you on the cover art.
Awesome. Awesome. That's good feedback. I'm excited.
Yeah. So, along those same lines, we want to get that phrase side hustle in as many places and as many times as we can.
Okay.
So what I would love for you to do for the artist's name, so that's your name, I would love for you to put Carli LeBlanc and then have side hustle marketing strategist or something to that effect, getting the word side hustle in there.
That's good. Okay.
Awesome. And then again, continuing on with the SEO efforts is putting that side hustle word, that keyword, that phrase into every single episode title.
Okay.
And then you can also put it in your episode descriptions as well. That's not as impactful. So if it's, wow, this is a lot of work, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed with all the places I have to put this, prioritize the title over the description. But ideally, you want it in both for every single episode.
Okay. So say for instance, if I'm doing like a episode on like how to market your business or your local business, it would be like how to market your local side hustle or something like that.
Yeah. What I do sometimes is if it doesn't really naturally fit into the title, you
Mhm.
could do something like how to market your local business, side hustle tips,
Got
something
it.
like that. It's
Okay.
kind of like just a little tagline almost on the end. Sometimes it's easy to work it into the title, and that's ideal. But when that doesn't happen, you can kind of just tack it on there.
Okay. And like when you would say like adding side hustle tips at the end, would you do like that little like long line and then put side hustle tips, or would you put it in parentheses, or does it even matter?
It doesn't matter. I'm partial to the vertical line just because I like it visually, but it really doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. No, I love the little vertical line. I'm like, I never know what to call it, but whenever I say like the long
Yeah.
line,
Yeah. The divider line.
yeah, the divider line, that's the good one. Yeah. Okay, perfect. I love that.
Wonderful. Okay, we talked about getting it into your subtitle. We talked about putting it in the artist name, the podcast creator name. We talked about getting it into your episode titles and your episode descriptions.
Mhm.
And just FYI, you can go back and change old episode titles and descriptions to throw that in there.
Okay.
And since you don't have a ton of episodes yet, that would be fairly easy to do. So I would probably recommend doing that.
Okay. Yep, I can do that.
And then the other place that we really look at for SEO is your show description. And so your show description is knocking it out of the park.
Nice.
Your show description is so, so awesome. You've got all the important information in there. It's in a great format. You've got great searchable questions in there as well. You've got calls to action. Everything is wonderful. The only thing that I would suggest that you do is just tighten up the first sentence. So when someone is not yet subscribed to your podcast, they're not yet following it, in Apple, they only see about the first 140-ish, give or take how thick the letters are.
Okay.
They only see approximately the first 140 characters of your description.
Okay.
And so right now, that part of yours says the Side Hustler podcast is the go-to show for women entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and small business owners who want to market their businesses. And then it trails off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what yours says right now. And so kind of similar to how you would never start a social media reel by saying like, "Hi, how you doing today?" Like you always get straight to the point.
Yeah.
We want to do that same thing here.
Okay.
And so the Side Hustler podcast is the go-to show. That's all.
Flow. Yeah.
This isn't the most attractive sentence, but I came up with something like market your side hustle with confidence,
Mm,
helping women entrepreneurs grow their businesses while working full time without the overwhelm.
I love that.
So that still might get cut off a little bit, but you're getting that key information, market your side hustle. and the key audience there, women entrepreneurs, you're getting that kind of front and center.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Love that.
And you can obviously workshop that. That's just kind of an example to show you the kind of thing that we're going for. We're trying to get punchier in the beginning, get straight to the point to maximize that limited characters that's going to show up in the preview.
Yeah. No, I love that. This is good. This is really good.
Wonderful. So that's what I have for you today. Like I said, I look at content marketing and SEO. So, you're really knocking it out of the park in those other two areas. And SEO, after those revamps last week, you're doing really well in that area too. Just a few minor tweaks to really take it up, as high as it can possibly be, maximize it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And so as far as content, because this has been something that I found myself struggling with. Um at the beginning I was doing a lot of solo episodes, and then I kind of like during the holidays and like trying to get back in gear, I was like, capitalizing on a lot of guest episodes. And so as far as like how to balance out the content that is going on the podcast with also keeping in mind the goals that I have, would you say like what would be a good breakdown of like the content? So what I'm thinking is like if there's 4 weeks in a month, then maybe 2 of those weeks be solo episodes and then 2 be like guest episodes. I want to try to incorporate coaching too, but I don't really have people that will probably be interested in that just yet, because I'm still kind of pivoting my audience. So would you say like it being like 50-50 would be a good like breakdown of the content that goes on the podcast?
So for my audience, my general rule of thumb is a 3-to-1 content ratio, 3 solo episodes for every guest interview.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because when you're doing a guest episode, you are basically endorsing that other person, you're shining the spotlight on them. You are essentially encouraging your listeners to go check out them and their business and their services and that kind of thing. And there's a time and a place for that, particularly if that guest is providing additional value to your audience
Right.
that you yourself are not best equipped to deliver. And so having guests is perfectly appropriate. You just have to be conscious of the fact that you're taking the spotlight away from yourself and shining it on someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the ultimate goals for your podcast, that could hurt you more or less depending on what your goals are. So if
Yeah.
your current goals are primarily brand partnerships and you may get into affiliate marketing, that type of thing, then guest interviews probably aren't going to hurt you very much, and they could be advantageous,
Mm-hmm.
creating those relationships. You could have someone on that you have a partnership with that you're referring business to. And so it makes sense that you're shining the spotlight on them and sending them business because you guys are partners. But if you are going more the route of you want people to come to you for your products, services, content creation, coaching, that type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
then you need to kind of hit the pause button and think, what am I doing here with these guest interviews? Is this really the best choice that I'm making right now? So it kind of depends on where you are and where you are going. But my general rule of thumb is 3-to-1.
Okay. I love that. I love that. Thank you.
My pleasure. And so, as we're wrapping up here today, I would just love to give you the opportunity if there's someone out there who is a female entrepreneur, side hustler, she's working that 9 to 5, and she's looking for some resources. How can she connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm primarily on either Instagram or Threads. I really love Threads. So, but on both platforms, you can follow me at Carli Dorlin. It's CarliDorlynn.
Wonderful. And we'll put it in the notes for you. So, Carli, it was so lovely chatting with you, and definitely keep me posted. All right.
Of course. Thank you so much again, Julia. This was so helpful.
All right, that's all for today. If you have a side hustle, be sure to check out Carli's show, the Side Hustler Podcast. And if you would like support to get more podcast listeners, leads, and sales, be sure to check out the Podcast Growth Collective for podcast education and direct access to me. You can learn more at thepodcastteacher.com/collective. Until next time, happy podcasting.